皆様、お待たせいたしました。
Good morning and welcome. We'd like to begin a second day of the International Eelgrass and Blue Carbon Workshop 2023. My name is Momoko Saiki. I'm serving as the MC today. Yesterday we had a very comprehensive discussion on the blue carbon, and we'd like to go on today to go into the further more detailed and the specific projects and the cases. We first would like to ask Dr. Furukawa for the review of yesterday and also introduction of today's program. Good morning, everyone. My name is Furukawa, the Association of Shore Environment Creation. We are very pleased to see you again today. We'd like to first review yesterday and also go through today's program. Yesterday we have about 150 participants in the hall and 500 on the Japanese the sites, and 200 other people for the overall participants online. So altogether we had 850 audience. And we enjoyed the great keynote presentations from the 4 speakers presenting us the new insights and perspectives on the conservation and restoration of many blue carbon ecosystems. Not only to addressing global warming, but also the halting of the degradation of the blue biodiversity must be taken into consideration in blue carbon projects, as well as the effectiveness of the blue carbon the certification and the trading systems, and the blue natural capital is a new word that we learned yesterday. We need to promote the investment in the blue natural capital and the blue economy. And the benefits for the community and the investment in the future must be considered for the promotion of specific projects, and for good results and effectiveness we need to educate based on the scientific evidence and the transparent disclosure of information, and the ongoing thorough research and investigation, and the utilization of the state-of-the-art technology are also the keys. Today we begin again the keynote speeches. Dr. Hori and Dr. Kondo will discuss the present status of the blue carbon ecosystem in Japan and the new observation technologies. And before going into Japanese cases, we'll have the speeches by Professor Tirol and Professor Augusti, introducing the Asian the seas and Red Sea respectively. Then 3 sessions will follow. We will enjoy the many presentations from participants from around the world, introducing their latest the activities and the status by fishers, administrators, the business the people, and ordinary citizens, and the young people, and how to communicate effectively to the public in general. So that will be another subject matter we will discuss as the scientific communication, science communication. And in each session, our moderators will ask the presentations that will be followed by a short time for questions and answers and the summaries. I'm sure that we will be able to listen to the leading and unique efforts from around the world, globally and locally. I sincerely wish that this information will inspire you and motivate you further to take action on yourself. I hope you will enjoy yourself today. Again, thank you.
それではこれから
We'd now like to go to the keynote speeches. Thank you for your patience. We'd now like to start the International Ruamamo Carbon Workshop, second day. And we have 4 keynote speakers scheduled. And from National Research and Development Agency, Japan Fisheries Research and Education Agency, Research Institute of Fisheries Resources, Department of Social and Ecological Systems, Coastal Ecosystem Monitoring Group, Dr. Masakazu Hori. We have from the Graduate School of Life Sciences, Tohoku University, and President of ANEMONE, Professor Michio Kondo. From Philippines, Aklan State University, Blue Carus, Local BC Strategies, Professor Yasmin H. Primavera, Tirol. From King Abdullah University of Science and Technology, Professor Susanna Agusti. So the 4 speakers will be speaking in order, and now I would like to ask Dr. Furukawa of Association for Shore Environment Creation to act as the moderator. So without further ado, we would like to start the keynote speeches for today. And the first speaker will be by Dr. Hori. So please take the floor, Dr. Hori.
From Japan Fishery Research and Education Agency. So at first, I would like to thank the organizing committee, FURUKAWA-san, for inviting me to this keynote speech. So I will give a talk about the blue carbon research in fisheries section of Japan. Entitled Development of Method for Assessing Nationwide CO2 Sequestration by Seagrass and Macroalgal beds in Japan. So this study was conducted by a big blue carbon team in Japan, including many my colleagues listed here. So at first, I would like to express my gratitude. So what is blue carbon? We learned a lot yesterday. So I can skip, and skip. So this famous figures shows the 5 climate change options from the ocean. So suggested in this report. Oh my God. This report published by Sustainable High-Level Panel for Sustainable Ocean Economies. So blue carbon ecosystems, so conservation and restoration of blue carbon ecosystems is effective mitigation options to reduce CO2 emission to achieve the goal of Paris Agreement. And this report is updated this year, last July. Carlos is co-author of this report, new report. blue carbon ecosystems, so restoration and conservation of these ecosystems still included in one of the effective mitigation options. So according to this big attention to blue carbon in international communities, so Japanese government decided to use blue carbon as a CO2 sequestration. So this is a governmental document about environmental innovation strategy released in January 2020. So in the sector 5 of this strategy, agriculture, forestry, and fisheries, the blue carbon is listed as effective CO2 sequestration with development goals by 2050s. So establish technology to sequester and store CO2-derived organic carbon in the seagrass, macroalgal bed, and tidal flat. And we put into practical use at a cost is sustainable for the industries. Additionally, 4 technological development are also listed. In the Ministry of Environment, which is the charge of national climate change countermeasures, they decided to add the blue carbon ecosystem to the national GHG inventories. So this is a press release from the Ministry of Environment about the new record from blue carbon ecosystems. So 2,300 tons of negative CO2 emission by mangrove forest was recorded. As a next step, not only seagrass beds, but also macroalgal beds is now underworking to include inventories as a new negative emissions. So this is a big challenge, I think, but I hope it be accepted in international communities. In the Ministry of Agriculture, Forestry, and Fisheries, we started new research project as one of the technological development to develop a method can calculate CO2 storage by macroalgal bed using the same formula as seagrass beds described in the IPCC guidelines. So as a result of this project, so we released guidebooks for calculating CO2 sequestration by seagrass and macroalgal beds this month. I will explain the summary of this guidebook. So around the Japanese coast, more than 15 seagrass species and more than 1,000 macroalgal species there are distributed, so along the coastal lines. So we classified these all species into the 17 vegetation type to calculate with 4 aquaculture types based on similarities in the CO2 sequestration process. Of course, each vegetation type includes so many kind of species. The species composition is quite different among the region, depending on the environmental factors. So variables for calculation, we obtained separately from these 9 regions. Here the table shows 21 vegetation type, including 6 seagrass types. Zostera, large Zostera is a Zostera coalescens, Tateyama in Japanese. Phyllospadix type, small, intermediate, large, subtropical seagrass types. And 11 macroalgae and 4 aquaculture species. So to calculate the CO2 sequestration, so the formula will need to follow the IPCC guidelines. So in the guidelines, so CO2 emission, positive emission, negative emission can be calculated from 2 factors. So areas and annual emission factors. So CO2 sequestration in seagrass and macroalgal bed. So we defined, so annual emission factors is calculated from the 2 factors. One is CO2 fixation, means amount of CO2 fixed as organic carbon based on the annual net primary production. And another is a fraction of carbon storage called residual fraction of organic carbon remained in the sea through storage process over at least 100 years. So this figures shows 4 organic carbon storage process in these models. It's the same as presentation, Kwai-san's presentation yesterday. So first is barriers in sediment, so inside vegetation areas. Second is a barrier of RPOC in sediment outside vegetation areas. The third is storage as RDOC in the sea. And the last is the storage in the deep sea. So these 3 storage process already explained by Kwai-san's presentation yesterday. So I will explain the last one, storage in deep sea. So this is analysis method for seagrass bed. So we calculate from the model simulation with field survey. The data is obtained from the Seto Inland Sea. It's the biggest inland sea of Japan. So we established models to estimate the transportation from seagrass bed to outside seagrass bed in shallow coastal areas and from the channel to the deep sea areas. So this is the results of our analysis. I have no time to explain in detail. I will show you the last one, that's the results. So in Seto Inland Sea, the seagrass beds produced about 73,000 tons of carbon and about 83%, 6,000 tons of carbons was transported into the deep sea. Sorry. If the details of this method is explained in chapter Q of this book. If you have interested, please check it. So this is a method for macroalgal species. So we analyzed the macroalgal drift around Japan using Japanese satellite called GCOM-C, using satellite image data. And then we counted the macroalgal drift areas lost it in the open oceans with more than 200-meter depth. It means sink into the deep sea, not counted sink on the continental shelves. So this is a summary of our results. So we tracked for 3 years, and we found macroalgal drifts decreased year by year gradually, and also found the macroalgal drifts were very few in northern areas. HK is the Hokkaido areas. We are dominated by Saccharina kelp species, and more abundant in southern areas, dominated by the Sargassum species. So here, this is the calculation formula for natural wild vegetations. So animal emission factors for natural vegetation of both seagrass and macroalgae.
calculated from the 5 parameters: net primary production, sum of residual fraction, sea content rate, and conversion to CO2, and the conversion factor for the entire ecosystems. And sum of residual fractions consists of 4 residual fractions: barrier inside, deep sea, barrier outside, and RDOCs. And this formula can be separated 3 parts: annual maximum biomass measured in the field, and parameter part, and conversion factors. So we called parameter part as emission potentials, and annual emission factors calculated from these 3 parameters. So this is the formula for seaweed aquaculture. It's almost same as the formula for natural vegetation, but we should divide annual maximum biomass into 2 parameters. One is biomass landed, another is biomass remained in the sea, because biomass landed cannot contribute the 3 of 4 residual fractions, so we have to remove the biomass landed from the net primary production. So this table shows emission potentials of 21 vegetation type in 9 regions of Japanese coast. Sorry, in Japanese. This is the annual emission factors. The highest emission factors is Phyllospadix seagrass species in Hokkaido region, about 20 tons CO2 per hectare per year. And the smallest factors is ephemeral green, brown, and red algae in the southern areas. So this is a calculation example in macroalgal bed dominated by Acinia bicyclis, arame in Japanese. We can use the emission potential from the table and measured annual maximum biomass in fields. And our survey revealed no more vegetation except for the target Acinia species. We needed to convert to the entire ecosystems. So that's why that we can calculate annual emission factors and multiply it by areas. We can get CO2 sequestration in the local seagrass, local macroalgal bed. Okay, this is the last slide as a summary of my presentation. So difference in the carbon sequestration between the world and Japan. So red values is a world average obtained from the Carlos papers, and blue one is results in these studies. So in the macroalgal bed, so total carbon sequestration is about half of world average. This is because so all of 4 residual fractions are smaller than world averages. So in the seagrass bed, total carbon sequestration of this study is very similar to the world's average, but the residual fraction of barrier inside the bed is quite smaller than annual average, and the other 3 residual fractions are bigger than world average. So this is probably due to the geographical characteristic of Japanese archipelago. So because in Japan, so a huge number of embankment reclamation in shallow coastal areas have been conducted for 500 years to make new paddy fields. So we have no more bigger seagrass beds with higher sedimentation rate. On the other hand, we have a lot of small seagrass beds in small bays face to the open oceans. Very organic carbon easily transported to the deeper areas. So this is our progress of blue carbon research in fishery section. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Dr. Hori. So the up-to-date results were presented. And the guidebook that was mentioned a few days ago, I think it came out. And the result of the research will be used by the government and by the citizens and by fishermen. And so it's been translated and used. And as you saw, Japan was divided into 9 areas and 21 types of the seaweed and macroalgal, and their sequestration was calculated. I think it must have required a lot of work, not just Japanese researchers, but there are aquaculture monitoring cooperation by various sectors. And it may look simple on a table, but from research to the government, so that it's been converted in a form that we can use. And I think that is a very big result. And we feel a lot of gratitude as well as respect. And I think there may be a lot of questions, but we will first hear all the 4 lectures, and then at the end we would like to entertain your questions. So please take note of your questions so you won't forget. Thank you very much, Dr. Hori.
Thank you very much. Now, I'd like to call upon the next speaker. He's Dr. Professor Kondo for his keynote lecture. He's a graduate school of life science of Tohoku University. So the new ocean environment measurement method and the survey method will be the gist of his talk in his keynote lecture. As a matter of fact, a mammal like eelgrass, seagrass, and seaweeds, the beds, what kind of living organisms are there? There is a monitoring methodology for us to look into, which is a very unique methodology. In Japan, it has been done on a nationwide basis to be sure that not just the monitoring, but as was discussed yesterday, the blue capital issue, what to do with this will be the way forward. I shouldn't talk too much about it because I have my aspiration to this. I'm talking a little longer than expected, but without further ado, I'd like to call upon Professor Kondo for his keynote lecture. If you're ready, please go. Thank you. Thank you very much for your kind introduction.
Opportunity to give my talk about my recent project, which is about how to measure the biodiversity on the coastal ecosystems and other ones. Given that now we have many audience, including young ones, I'm going to switch to Japanese. Sorry about that. Okay, 日本語でいきます。
I would switch to Japanese this time. The ANEMONE, which is an organization that is the biodiversity monitoring network. I'm to talk about during yesterday's talk. Blue natural capital, this word came up. The blue natural goods, that is, or capital, I should say. The blue carbon biodiversity system, ecosystem, excuse me, many bioorganics are nurtured with a high biodiversity level. The blue carbon ecosystem means that not just to absorb the CO2 gas, by having many biota, many organic functions that are held. So with various functionalities in present, rich nature, how to maintain the rich natural blessing of the nature, which is a very important issue for us all on a global basis. As you know, the nature positive, as was discussed yesterday in the keynote lecture, it was referred to. Nature positive, this really represents that spirit. For the time being, the carbon neutral international goal was set up. How? With the climate change, you can stop or alleviate the climate change. This is a buzzword, an issue. And this time around, they knew, or following that, there is international target for the environment. It is nature positive. This is a buzzword for us. So far with the biodiversity or nature, it's getting worse. By 2030, we have to put ourselves on the reversal side for recovery. We have to increase the biodiversity. This is the essence of a nature positive. That's the target of nature positive mission. Of course, the blue carbon ecosystem this is the with a high biodiversity. How to regain this, restore this? It's important for us to realize the nature positive. It plays a very important role indeed. But in the meantime, nature positive or by ecosystem recovery, to realize this, it's not as easy, you might think, because the ecosystem is a very complex system indeed. Now, please take a look at this picture. This in the Caribou Bay, the coral reef bio-ecosystem network. One by one, small circles indicate the different biotic species. Mostly, they are fish and some turtles included. The circle is connected. Then the two different species are interacting with each other. If you increase one species, and then other species will be increased or decreased. In other words, the ecosystem is composed by many different species. Many different living organisms are interacting with each other. This is a compact, complex system. So you have to clearly understand this for us to recover. If you try to do that, corresponding data is needed. Suitable data is needed for that purpose. Against this background, what is noteworthy is the environmental DNA, that is eDNA technology. So what is the eDNA? In a word or two, the DNA-based scientific survey of a natural version, the sea and the river and the land soils, or maybe air. You sample them. Then what's contained as the biota-derived samples, samples can be analyzed. Then you can see what kind of living things are there. You can learn. What kind of data can be captured? Please get this image for you to think about image. I will show you one example. This in 2022 along Tokyo Wakasu Park. With the people in the vicinity have cooperated with us to do this survey. This is survey result. The 2 liter worth of water that is sampled from this area, then to make analysis, we'll come up with this result. It's a 1 by 1 letter, means different kinds of living things. By analyzing 2 liters worth of water, you see this. Like we have a Miguricephalus, that is Bora in Japanese, and Conocepunctus, Konoshiroko. That is the very nice species for sushi. And the one in the left, because of the small DNA volume, which means that it's small, that's the Eelgrass japonicus. Katakuchiwashi in Japanese. So you just sample the water. 36 different kinds of fish species can be detected. With this technology, not just it's applied to the fish, but with the crustaceans. And recently, for the seaweeds and the seagrass and seaweed, we are trying to expand it for detecting this, sampling those. on an increasing basis. So like with the eDNA technology in hand, for example, you can capture this sort of data. What it means that on the left-hand side, if you take a look at it on the left-hand side, Maizuru Bay is reversed, as you see. In Kyoto Prefecture, Maizuru Bay, in 2015, every week, here we sampled the water to do the eDNA survey. The sampled water, as if we detect a fish, we make analysis. That we have top 10 fishes are shown in here. 100 different kinds of fish species. On a weekly basis, you see the fluctuation on a weekly basis at a glance. So in actuality, it is really in accordance with the living things changes. Like left-hand side, this is the DNA of anchovy, Japanese anchovy, how it goes. So this is similar to the subsea observation or underwater observation. But also at the beginning, I was shown you the very complex network because different kinds of living organisms, how they are interacting with each other. If you do this on a field to look and survey and write it, it's difficult because with the increase in which species, what will happen to the environment, it is difficult to depict it. But with the technology as eDNA in hand, as a result of a weekly observation, you see that what kind of living things are interacting with which species for going through the fluctuation. So that in a word or two, that by ecosystem structure or scheme, you see the inside of the mechanical structure or mechanism of it. With this technology in hand, you make a bit good use of it. Then AMAMO, for Mama, you can learn what kind of living beings that are being nurtured, inhabited, and the seaweed and seagrass in order to increase them. What kind of ecosystem we should realize to increase the seagrass and seabed? You can see it through. In actuality, I am deeply involved with the Miyagi Prefecture, Minami Sanriku Town. At present, ZBE structure is used to look into the blue carbon present extraction is done. At the same time, by doing the eDNA survey, the blue carbon, what kind of impact there is on the ecosystem you learn? What kind of ecosystem is ideal for blue carbon growing? This sort of study has been just started. Yet, please note, please pay attention to this aspect that we have to keep in mind. That is that with the ecosystem, this is a very gigantic system. Like with the Shizuoka Bay, this is ecosystem in question. The Shizuoka Bay, this ecosystem, if it's changed, of course, there are various ecosystems in Shizuoka Bay. The blessing will be changed. At the same time, there are other ecosystems in other regions will be affected, like a fish. By the fish, they swim for tens of thousands of kilometers. If there is a change in there, then this will cast a big impact in other regions, diversity. So the ecosystem in Shizuoka Bay, you have to maintain it, and you have to keep the Amamo beds. You have to learn other ecosystem of other region. So extensively, there's places that are involved for ecosystem learning. How can you observe this? How can you make the use of such sample or data? This is studied by this ANEMONE. That is the keyword for this talk. That is a large-scale monitoring network. With ANEMONE, using the eDNA monitoring network, biodiversity networking can be done. It was established in 2019 with the marine station of universities that are involved. So with the marine stations of the university, with the administration and the community people participating. As I said earlier, Hori-san, also their organization, is engaged in the routine monitoring as well. So throughout Japan, the routine observation is at 77 locations. it is monitored at 77 locations. So on a weekly basis, using the DNA, they are studying and monitoring the biodiversity. All Nippon ADA monitoring network, so that's how we call it as ANEMONE for short. It is a very interesting feature, means by dividing the work labor, everybody can participate because of the efficient division of labor. Because if we are to participate in the ANEMONE, you want to do the eDNA monitoring, what will happen there? We give you this Japan survey result, and this shows that we have a survey kit. You will receive those kits. And there are many pictures. Then we have many manuals. You have manual, video manual with many pictures using which you can do the on-site survey. Then you can send it to us. Then number 3, the samples, as you see. If you send these samples with the Tsukuba University Katsuta DNA Research Lab, they will cooperate with us. So they work on the samples, we make analysis on samples. What kinds of living things are there? We let you know. And on a database, it will be put open for everybody can see. So because of the system available, so the various the surveyors can contribute. Various people can contribute. Like we have Earthwatch Japan in conjunction with them. This is the 4th year of observation. That nationwide fish targeted eDNA sampling is done, survey is done throughout Japan. The people living in the coastside are participating. Local community people are involved in here, so on their own, they choose their favorite ocean, which is very important. If you do the science, you know this well. Curiosity driven is important. That's a buzzword. When you have curiosity, you do your best. So from us, we cannot say that to survey this and that. We don't say that. You are to choose your favorite ocean to look into the biodiversity survey on your own. From 20 to 22 for 3 years. 340 people, 41 people participated. About 800 species have been detected. Now, this is not the ocean, but this is the effort done this year with the scientists. Well, this is a place that scientists cannot go too easily. The climbers, mountain climbers, are cooperating with us, so we do the survey. It's started this year, not just sea, I'm sorry, but it's a mountain. But doing this, you know the interesting thing. So that recently we have, 90 places. We have some wild species. So we did this, the bear. So we have sampled bears, and all from Hokkaido samples. Of course, the higuma, that is one species of the bear in Hokkaido. So with this, we are doing this in ocean base. So with the Nippon Yusei, they are cooperating with a shipping company. So the open sea, using the regular route, we do the environmental survey. Then in 2021, Japan-Australia regular route is used to do the sampling. So 158 species have been detected. This is very much open sea-like. Many different species have been detected by this survey. So that's been the case, not just with the scientists per se, but the companies as well as local administrations and local community people. We have gathered this data, which is very important data indeed. Therefore, if I capture this, I write a paper, I'm sure I can come up with a very good paper. I cannot do that. So such data should be made available as an open data to everyone. So this is ANEMONE DB, that's a database open to anybody. So ANEMONE DB was available from 2022. It was made publicly open. So very clear open data policy is set aside under which we are doing the operation. Anybody can freely publicly use, and you can use for commercial or academic applications. So if you are taking interest in here, please visit this website on your own. And if you register your name, you can freely get this data for your free usage of it. Such a database is available so that one by one, environmental eDNA is being done on a local basis, but more extensively, regional, global biodiversity patterns can be observed. For example, this one example for your attention. And so far, throughout Japan, we have done the survey from these surveyed regions. So where these Japanese anchovies are found, by this database, you can do this research, survey, search, you can do this. Also, this is available with other species. So recently, we found in Sanrikucho, we have found a new, potential new species. Going back to collate to other data where it is detected, you can learn about it. Or this is a little bit more. It looks so simple at a glance, but this is very important data for the biodiversity. Horizontal axis means that the latitude from the south to north, north to south, left is south, and right is the north. The vertical axis is the genus richness, that is biodiversity. One by one, dot indicate different location. At a glance, it is learned that on the south, you see that biodiversity is greater, there is more species, but that's not all there is to it. On the south, it is higher, means that there's a seasonal fluctuation. You can see it through as well from data. And also with the biodiversity, not one location, there is a gradual fluctuation, where there is some fluctuation, you can see it through. At the 7 locations on the weekly sampling, this is ANEMONE site, and the biodiversity weekly changes are plotted here on this chart. Then at the 500th day, at various locations, there is a synchronous pattern. This is abnormal detection you can see as well. In other words, its individual environmental DNA sampling is done at a very small local spot. We observe in that local spot. But if you put in a database, if you concentrate more, integrate more, the extensive global issues that we can bump into, we can be confronted with, in other words. So that such academia originated, industrial sector cooperated, and local NPO cooperated, administration cooperated efforts, that is the sampling or observation. How you can put it in the society, social implementation, how the nature positive business can be linked. This is a very big issue that we're faced with. In order to proceed with this at this point in time, this is last year, we have done the ANEMONE consortium, that is the academia and the private sector and the government are connected. So the nature positive, in conjunction with the ANEMONE, we can leave us the nature positive scheme. So ANEMONE is to put enough resources so that throughout Japan, internationally, we are to start international observation. So global biodiversity pattern can be obtained, that we would send out the information. That's all there is to it, to the ANEMONE. But in order to support the ANEMONE, we have to put the resources. In other words, data has to be turned into values. That role is played by ANEMONE consortium. Over here, 34. Last week there is some, but 34 institutions involved. ANEMONE data, how best you can utilize ANEMONE data for industrial application in a nature positive way. This is something we are discussing here in this consortium. Such being the case, ANEMONE, this system is not just the observation system, it's not. ANEMONE DB, ANEMONE consortium are linked as one, so that a biodiversity information can be very greatly analyzed and captured in a scientific way, and using this nature positive society formation can be realized. That's the destination, that's the ecosystem. At the beginning, I said earlier that in Minami Sanrikutan, it started there. Blue carbon ecosystem related to eDNA survey. If this is going on further, of course, on the local basis, Amamoba, that is when with the growth of eelgrass beds, what will happen to the living things in there, you can observe. Not just there is to it, but with this data, throughout Japan, the biodiversity can be learned as well, or how you can restore that. this can be put into policy perspective. So we can provide this sort of data for that application, for that purpose. Now with this system in hand, we'd like you, as many people as possible, to utilize it. We are making a system. We're working on the system making at this point in time. Though the eelgrass beds, if you are interested in the blue carbon ecosystem, then so you and the Blue Carbon Society, we can be tying hands together in the future so that the diverse function of ecosystem can be utilized, can be developed. We'd like to be working together for that purpose and aspirations. That's my wish. Thank you very much for your attention. Professor Kondo, thank you very much for your talk. Professor Kondo, yesterday, since he has listened to the lecture speeches yesterday, the eDNA's observation we have asked him to talk about. So as for the restoration, blue carbon ecosystem, and the eelgrass beds and the seaweed good, how this survey can be utilized for that restoration. Once again, he has referred to this message as an additional 2 paper, along with the 2 papers that he had, I don't know. So while dividing a role and work, not just a database-based consortium, along with this system and scheme, the ecosystem, that is ecosystem. So this service as a system can be functional as well. It is clearly shown by his talk today. The Blue Carbon Ecosystem Survey, we would like to make the best use of it. I sincerely hope so. And also in the last section, we would entertain your questions if you have any. The climate has also cooperated. They have captured the data. Then maybe divers can capture the data as well. This is what I thought a minute. Once again, Professor Kondo, thank you very much. We'd like to extend a big applause of thankfulness. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to invite to the podium Professor Yasumi Primavera Tirol, Aklan State University from the Philippines.
State University of the Philippines. And her middle name is Primavera, and I'm very familiar with this name because of the 20 years ago, I had a chance to go there to make an actual restoration of the mangrove forest with her. And that was the start of our relation, and we are expecting the more up-to-date report from the Filipinos. So when you're ready, please take floor.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much, Dr. Keita, FURUKAWA, for this opportunity to present the experiences of local communities in Panay Island in the Philippines. So I will be presenting 5 local communities, the experiences I have with them, and somehow try to make sense, to come up with a direction forward, in terms of blue carbon ecosystems and the next challenges. So I would like to say at the start that I am a fisheries person, but my confidence during this presentation will come from my personal experiences with the local communities. And they are located, as you can see, in Panay Island, 3 from the northern part in the province of Aklan, and 2 from the southern part in the province of Iloilo. So because this is an eelgrass conference, I'd like to mention that, of course, we have seagrasses in the Philippines, but unfortunately, the 5 local communities that I will be sharing with you have no direct data with seagrasses. This slide from Dr. J. Marquevedo shows, if you will find there on the left circle, there's only 11% of seagrass ecosystem information found in the coastal management plans of 2 municipalities, Calibo and Batan. So although they are equally important components, there is a gap in the current management of these resources at the local level. So that's all I will have to say about seagrass, and that next that there are seagrasses. It's just that documentation and awareness among the local communities is quite low. So to proceed with our first case, the Bakawan Eco Park. This is started by the Kalibo Save the Mangroves. This is a people's organization which was established in 1990. So you will see there the work of Walton and co-workers in 2006, where the perceived benefits of the mangrove as a barrier against storm damage, no, is at the highest of 100% compared to all other functions or services. And so the willingness to pay is also at 100% compared to others, because the very reason that the local community planted mangroves in the area is to protect their houses, their properties at the shore from strong waves and wind action and storm surges. So here is a rough timeline from 1990 to the present, where they were granted a contract of about $22,500 for 50 hectares of mangroves to be planted through the efforts of former Mayor Alan Kimpo, who also became a congressman and was able to access more resources for the eco park in 1995 for another 13 hectares. And then the DNR granted the Kasama a community-based forest management agreement for which they have tenurial rights for 25 years. And so this means they can gain services and products and utilization of the mangrove forest, which they planted, renewable for another 25 years. And I believe this due next year, they will be 25 years already. So they will have to decide if they will renew. And from 1997 and again in 2009, there is a moth larvae infestation in the planted Rhizopora trees. No? Some survived, but those that were damaged were grown, or how do you say, regrowth of the more suitable species for seafront areas, which are the Avicennia and Soneracha, no, which were originally found in the area before the planting was made. And in 2005, I'd like to mention the FAO Exemplary Forest Management Award given to them. So to date, several projects and in research and academic activities and the planting of private and government offices continue to be done there. And this year, One Meralco Foundation, that is a corporate social responsibility arm of the electric company in the Philippines, have a proposal to plant 100,000 mangrove trees. So this slide shows the progress of the planting from, on the top left, from 1980s to 2012. So you have about a total of 76 hectares based on the satellite. And if you see look at the different colors at the bottom left, please take note, the Avicennia species. These are the natural, original mangrove cover in the area, and everything else used to be just mud. No? So, and then they were planted with Rhizopora, and then after that mixed. And as a result, Professor Nadaoka, as an output of the Blue Cares project recently completed in the Philippines, I will just mention, he will explain it in more detail in the next few days, that the planting of mangroves enabled the trapping of sediments in the area. And so there is accretion, and we observed here in the lower right, in the adjacent coastline of New Washington, there is an erosion happening. So until this day, every week they continue to dump sediment in that area because they have a seawall, but it keeps on eroding. So to protect the businesses and communities there. So this is happening where you have accretion somewhere along the coastline, you also have erosion. And this is our second case, Isla Capispisan Mangrove Reforestation, Aquasilviculture and Ecotourism Project. This is in New Washington, Bataan Bay. This was started by the academe, the Aklan State University, where an abandoned fish pond was identified. It was destroyed from a storm. And the university talked with the community and also with the local government. And there was a memorandum of agreement here in 2004 after initial talks and negotiations. And so the university decided to require all graduating students to plant mangroves before they can graduate. It is a requirement. And at the start, there used to be Mr. and Miss, like a pageant, no? And instead of votes, you will have your mangrove propagules. So the more propagules and will be the winner. So that was the first batch, a lot of planting of propagules, and of course it's Rhizoptera that has the propagules. So now, in 2011, awards were won, but I'd like to mention that the state university and the local government, much as they want to sustain it, you know, the leadership changes. And so not as much continuity is observed here. But recently, with the resources from the Commission on Higher Education, there is a new impetus to revisit and strengthen this project. So just to highlight some lessons learned here, that the local community will be more open to implement innovations, no, in terms of resource management if they can be learned from a fellow fisherfolk from another community who has a similar experience. No? So that is one. And that outsourcing, you know, resources and funding support from many national, international agencies, they just come. But the most important thing is the local community to strengthen and to sustain it. And I'd like to mention here for in general, beyond the Isla Capispisan project, there is this Philippine National Aquasilviculture Program, which under the Department of Agriculture, Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources, where this is replicated in so many coastal communities all over the Philippines. And for Aklan State University, from 2012 to 2015, there are, you will notice, a very low survival at the start, 21%. This is because of the direct planting. And then after this, we were able to innovate on having a nursery, and then the training sessions with the beneficiaries and stakeholders also involved. We added a field training component, so they have hands-on experience, and so we were able to increase the survival rate. But study of Catedrilia and co-workers in 2017 showed that the issues from 1988 to 2017 remain the same. Why? Why? So Aklan State University, College of Fisheries, of which I am a part, we tried to do something. And in 2020, there is the first Bataan Bay and Aklan River Summit, where all the stakeholders were invited. Together, this was also the, I think, midstream of the Blue Cares project. And there was a covenant to which the participants committed to organize an integrated management body, no, for the management of the resources in Batan Bay. And only earlier this year, in January, through the Blue Cares project, we had the second Aklan River, Batan Bay and Coast Summit, because now we have an appreciation of the interconnectivity of the coast to the river and the bay. So we have that ABC Summit and training workshop. And there was a memorandum of understanding signed among local government units who committed to the same integrated management body. And to date now, there is a ongoing review of the ordinance, provincial level, which now originally was proposed to include only the municipalities of the river and the river mouth and Batan Bay, but the governor said, why not include all the 17 municipalities from mountains to the coastal areas, no, of the whole province. So there is that ongoing. And now we proceed to the third case. This is in Ibahay, where we have the century-old mangrove tree. Perhaps some of you may have seen or gone there. Dr. Furukawa was able to visit. They have recently won the second runner-up place in the Best Mangrove Award of the Para El Mar. This is Marine Protected Areas Recognition and Awards. It is done every 2 years by the Marine Protected Areas Support Network with support from all or many national government agencies and also non-government organizations, no? International and national. So it started in 1980s when the local community, we call it a local version of People Power after Cory Aquino, where the local community stopped because the way they do it to develop fish ponds, you have the mangrove trees, they remove the bark first, so the tree will die. Then it's easier to cut it down. Because if you cut it directly, it will be very difficult. No? So when that started, they were able to stop the cutting, and they organized themselves. And so partnership with CIFDEC, Aquaculture Department, and CIFDEC then proceeded to conduct research study on mangrove-friendly aquaculture. And MOAs were signed, and publications were made after the research results. And in 2010, it has a name, Katungan It Ibahay Ecotourism Park. And funding came from the national government, 9 million, and then an additional 7.5 million, just to show here that if you want people to go to a mangrove area, you really need a very nice and sturdy footwalk or footpath. No? So my mother, she requested technical advice from NOAA for this. The next case is in Leganes, the LIKE or Leganes Integrated Katungan Eco Park in Iloilo. This was also an abandoned fish pond reverted to mangroves. And in this case, I'd like to mention, recalling the permanence concept yesterday of 3 generations. This started with the father, who was the mayor, former mayor, and now the son is the mayor, and he continues. And they won the first place, Best Mangrove Award, in the same Para El Mar. No? So you see the light materials there of the structure. Now it's concrete, and more visitors come. And look at the lower left figure. You will see from 2005 to 2009, the increase, to 2013 and 24 increase in the, maybe it's not very clear, please forgive the slide, but there is an increase in the mangrove cover. No? So there are seagrasses in the adjacent area because dugongs were seen there. No? And so there's a MOA with the LGU. Again, the local community has the support of the LGU. And this is not very clear, please forgive the slides, but just to show that several stakeholders, you have NGOs coming in to contribute their support like ZSL, GIZ, and even the Department of Public Works and Highways and the provincial government as well, no? And several other offices. And the highlight here is the voluntary support of students and schools, volunteer labor for the planting, in contrast with the Department of Agriculture, which I showed earlier. They get paid to bag the seedlings, 2 pesos, 3 pesos, and then to plant it, another 3 pesos, and then if it survives after 3 to 6 months, another 3 pesos. But this one is voluntary. So whatever works, no? Just so that the mangroves will survive and grow. And you have bikers. Here is the dugong. Unfortunately, it was found in that state. And more. So we move now to the, I think this is the last case, the Pedada Integrated Mangrove Eco Park. They also have a century-old mangrove tree here. And Dr. FURUKAWA had a significant contribution to the place. Because they suffered erosion, no? So again, at the start, the people, local community, organized after they experienced the oil spill in 2006, no? And they were devastated. The coastal areas was really covered with oil, and they had to suffer their livelihoods. And after they were organized, they constructed the multipurpose hall. And the NR came in and various organizations came to support, as well as the local government units. No? And of course, the ZSL, Zoological Society of London. And this is the coastal erosion. You can see there 0.5 meter erosion from the pictures. So here is Dr. FURUKAWA, who helped design the breakwater. The idea is to provide some shield to to dissipate the strong waves so that long enough, no, not cement structure, not concrete, but just made of stones from the same area, long enough, maybe 3 to 5 years, for the mangroves to grow big enough so they can withstand the waves. And so you have here a breakwater with a middle opening in the middle to allow the fishing boats, because that is where they dock. It's a traditional docking area. So if you have a good communication among all stakeholders, then you can have all your interests taken into consideration and decisions can be made where everyone benefits. No? So after the breakwaters were installed by the local community, voluntary labor, both planted and natural regeneration of mangroves were observed there. So now you have a 100 meters width of a green belt to protect from erosion. So, this is just details of the technique. Because I have a lot of slides, I will skip them. The livelihood has improved in the local community, not only from ecotourism, but also from seaweed farming. And in fact, they have become big brothers to replicate to other areas, no? Similar experiences. And they have a successful, here again, we have photos with the local communities. And they have in fact recently constructed a hall, a building, after that old person here who was president for the longest time, sitting down in the top center. And they are among the first groups in the country who were able to germinate the soneracha, which is very hard to germinate in a nursery. Okay, we'll skip this. So they are big brothers, I mentioned that already. And livelihood. Oh, sorry, I think I was going back. I'm so sorry. So this is to mention this about the para-ELMAR. One of the components is to have this Philippine database for marine protected areas, no, online. So aside from the awards every 2 years, we have the support network. So we have the database, it's online. And after the enactment of the local government code, giving autonomy to the local government units in managing their resources, especially the coastal municipalities, we have seen a rise, no, in the number of marine protected areas. But again, the effectivity of these marine protected areas remain to be confirmed. So, okay, so those are the 5 cases and specific experiences. Now, how do we make sense of all that? How do we move forward in terms of carbon credits, no? In terms of blue carbon credits? So we go back to the ecosystem services, not just the products. When we value them, we are better able to transact, no, with the different stakeholders. But is that enough? I think in the local perspective, it's still difficult to translate into action. When you talk to the local community, what does it mean? You know, okay, I enjoy protection from storm, but then my life goes on. Why do I have to deal with your carbon credits? And all of a sudden, just this year, more than 5 companies, big companies, have already approached the areas in Aklan, interested in securing areas for planting mangroves, without mentioning the word carbon credit. No, but they want to pour in millions of pesos, and they want to secure tenurial rights. So without mentioning carbon credit. So, you know, this makes you think of something else, gives you a different feeling, no? If you are, imagine yourself if you are the local community. So this just shows the intensity and potential for mediation by socio-economic factors. What we're trying to do now is to identify levers for intervention. How do we convince and explain to the local community what do they have to do to conserve and protect their blue carbon ecosystems? Why? Why are all of these big companies suddenly interested? No? So one of the very important outputs of the Blue Cares project is this GB link, no, framework. G is the green carbon and B is the blue carbon, which are linked from the upland to the coastal areas, where you have different changes, like, for example, declining trend in upland forest cover, which causes morphological changes in the river, and resultantly will also affect the river mouth dynamics, where they planted the bakawan, that is the rhizopora, which have changes also in the sediment transport dynamics, affecting the adjacent coastline where they have experience of erosion. No? So it is very important to have a proper scale, suitable scale, when we analyze and consider interventions, no? As well as the social and economic aspects. And so this slide is from Dr. FURUKAWA. Here's a map of the stakeholders for the target area, social network analysis for the Batan Bay and Aklan province. No? So they are trying to form all of these stakeholders, the academe, the local government units, the people's organization, the national government agencies, are trying to form an integrated management council. I mentioned already about the ordinance earlier. So there have been several models, social and ecological models. But for myself, I find it hard to see how it can capture the specific mechanisms at the local community in terms of translation into action, no, for carbon conservation. So this work of Anderis and co-workers, which was published last year. They call it CIS, Coupled Infrastructure System. So there are 4 elements. If you look at, you can call the NI or natural capital infrastructure. We can insert natural capital there from yesterday's discussion. And here is the resource users, the color blue. This is the community. And the shared infrastructure or the public infrastructure and the providers. So only 2 things I want to say for this slide. First, it's very important to recognize that the way we manage emerges from our transactions with the environment. We don't decide to do and impose what we want, but rather we are sensitive to the signals from the environment, and that is how we make decisions, how we conduct our activities in the environment, in the locality. Second is the importance of feedback loops or feedback mechanisms. So these are delineated by the arrows. You see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 there. These are feedback loops. They can be energy, material, information. And you have co-management and formal policy, both ways, no? Where you have information exchange both ways. This is just a specific example that they did for Africa. I will not mention. And here's an important point I'd like to mention, that we need to consider the livelihood of the local communities if we want their buy-in for local action in conservation of blue carbon. Because livelihood depends on several things, but in this example, access to market. No, they decide, okay, they have greater resilience if they have better access to markets in terms of household wealth, livelihood diversity, catch diversity, farm area, and percent food. So this is the work of Kramer and co-workers back in 2017. Now the World Food Program had a task team, and they came up with this illustration for the 5 pillars. This is in the UN declaration, no? 5 pillars: partnership, people, planet, prosperity, and peace. And you have the SDGs there, 17. And what are the interactions? Green is positive relationship. We know this already. Our life and work and growth depend on the land, and therefore we can address poverty issues. But in reality, it's more like this, more messy. You look at pressure points of climate, and then relates to disaster risk reduction, which can be managed by partnerships, but going to work and growth, if it is unregulated, then it will result in over-extraction, and then you will have disruptions in peace. So the point is to have a way of thinking of risk together with resilience. Together, risk and resilience together when we undertake conservation discussions. And ethics. Who is the primary stakeholder? Who is the primary benefit enabler? There are formal mechanisms, formal rules on your left for governance and management, and on the right are the ethical processes. No? So we also need to consider this, not just impose what are the international and globally agreed standards, for example, but allow some adaptation into the unique context in the local communities. So this is from McKinsey, a global consulting, management consulting firm. So 10 requirements, but you can always look it up. Just to mention that it's really tricky, the social component, because behavioral interventions, you need to look for the triggers, no? The levers for directing impacts. And here are I think it's second to the last slide, GB-Link framework, I introduce a new term, trans ecosystem, but you can also just say integrated ecosystem. And that translates to trans or integrated social network as well. In the Philippines case, dominated by local government units and people's organizations with the academe only supporting, and the NGOs also. And then we need to understand the livelihoods of the local communities if we want them to decide to buy in and participate more actively, really, to claim ownership of the conservation efforts. And then to factor in thinking of risk and resilience together so that we can consider the balancing of trade-offs when we make decisions in a participatory structure. And that lastly, carbon credit, it's still very vague to the local communities, but if we start to relate it to them in a manner that is more understandable, for example, in terms of their livelihood, in terms of their market access, in terms of their specific disaster risk situations, then we'll find better success because really it is their dignity at stake. And then they will decide. You will not be able to stop them if they have this appreciation and this power. That's it. Thank you very much to Blue Cares, to Sasakawa Peace Foundation for the support, and my university, Aklan State U. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Yasmin. Thank you for elaboration for the 5 distinguished local actions, and you also pointed out the way forward direction. And we will come back later to the question and discussion in the end of the keynote speech. And I'd like to call Professor Susanna Augusti from the King Abdullah University of Science and Technology. She is a professor for the marine science, specialized for the biology, and she will give another provision from the Let's See area. So, when you're ready, please go ahead and take floor. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So we go to a different topic now because we will go to climate change and the capacity of adaptation of marine organisms to temperature. So, well, it is a fact that the temperature in the oceans is increasing, and in this plot on your left, well, this is the anomaly of temperature changes since the end of the 19th century, and you can see the agreement of 5 different time series reporting that of temperature. And the problem is increasing because, well, as a sample, this year has been the warmer summer in the oceans in the records. So this year, warming together with El Niño phenomenon led to record temperatures in the ocean up to 3 degrees in many areas above the last decade. So we have a big problem with temperature, but in fact, it is the thermal capacity of the marine organisms that will determine what are the impacts of ocean warming in the ecosystems. So the capacity, the temperature tolerance of organisms, it could be well represented by analyzing the thermal performance curve of an organism. And this is a general aspect for all poikilotherms, so including phytoplankton, seagrasses, macroalgae, and invertebrates. And this is characterized by the response of the physiological different growth or metabolism to temperature. It is clear that, well, the performance in the physiology will increase with increasing temperature for organisms to reach an optimum in the performance that this is established as the optimum temperature that we identify. Usually after reaching the optimum, it's a sharp decline in the performance on this aspect. But this is not only the optimum, but also the thermal limits of the organisms that determine their performance. So the organisms have critical temperatures, minimum and maximum tolerance to that. So when an organism is exposed to an increase in temperature, it will react to that. And so we will have responses at the physiological level. And this will induce also responses in the performance and in molecular responses. This can lead then to a different performance to the environment. And this can also induce changes in the abundance of organisms and in their distribution, because the species boundaries can change. However, adaptation to the temperature may help the organisms to be able to grow well in these conditions, avoiding then the changes in abundance or in the distribution of the organisms. So in this work by Thomas and co-authors in 2012, they analyzed the temperature optima of a large number of phytoplankton. This is more than 190 strains. And they observed that the temperature optimum of these organisms is closely related to the temperature in situ. So here what they found is the temperature optima is explained by the latitude gradient. So temperature optima is higher for tropical organisms and is lower for polar organisms. And then we have higher optima, higher temperature tolerance in the tropical areas than in the others. This thermal performance associated to latitude has been also observed for seagrasses. So in this study by Maruha and co-authors, they also observed that the temperature limits of seagrasses is strongly related to latitude. They also observed that the limits in the responses to temperature are also related to latitude, so they have less capacity to respond to changes as we go to the equator and the tropics. So this is in agreement also with other studies, also for phytoplankton. So what is informing these studies is that, well, the tropical areas will increase temperature, and this represents a new need because organisms will be not before exposed to these temperatures. These tropical organisms, the other organisms can move to different latitude to reach their thermal niche, but not for the tropics. So while these different studies are predicting that it will be especially for the tropical areas where we expect to have the higher decrease in biodiversity. So this decrease in biodiversity could be only resolved if the organisms can be able to adapt to these temperatures. So I will show some examples from the Red Sea. The Red Sea is considered a natural laboratory for the thermal adaptation. The Red Sea is a very warm sea located between the Indian Ocean and the Mediterranean Sea in the Arabic Peninsula. And this is characterized by very high temperature. So the minimum temperature is 22 degrees, even at 2,000 meters depth. Maximum temperature could be close to 33 degrees. It is also an oligotrophic sea. And there are also gradients in the distribution, north to south, on nutrients, temperature, and also in salinity. Salinity is also high due to the high evaporation of the waters. So we have 40 per thousand of salinity in these waters. But it is also a sea underwarming. So we explored the changes in temperature and we found that it is warming at a rate higher than the mean global rate of the oceans. However, the Red Sea hosts a very diverse range of organisms, including corals, fish, macroalgae, seagrasses, and microorganisms also. So we consider it could be a natural laboratory to study how marine organisms are adapting to warming and to high temperature, because the organisms living there are already exposed to high temperature. So I will address this aspect in showing two examples of adaptation and the thermal performance of phytoplankton from the Red Sea and from seagrasses. And well, the questions will be how close these organisms are to their thermal limits now, because this is also underwarming. And what is the capacity of these organisms to adapt to even higher temperature, because they will be close to their limit. So for microorganisms, we expect they have a high capacity. So we expect faster adaptation than to other organisms, and this is including microalgae, because they have a very large population size, and this large population size can include a high variability in the genetic pool, and then also they experience rapid turnover time, so they can make many generations in few time. For the case of seagrasses, we will analyze the thermal performance of Halophila stipulacea. We have changed its distribution, so he has migrated to the Mediterranean Sea. So the phytoplankton that we study and the case for the diatoms. So the Red Sea is an oligotrophic sea. So this is picoplankton, as in other oligotrophic areas, the plankton that dominates photosynthesis, and within this is Synechococcus and not Procorococcus, and in other areas the one that is dominating phytoplankton biomass and production. But we have also diatoms, and diatoms are a very relevant component of also the Red Sea. They are the ones that increase and tend to dominate the biomass when we have nutrient impulse. So diatoms are a very relevant component because they are responsible for the carbon flows to the food webs, but also to the export to the deep ocean. So it is diatoms, the major component that sink. And we observed that diatoms is not only in the outwellings or on the polar areas where they are dominant, also in oligotrophic seas, diatoms are the dominant component that are sinking and sequestering the carbon from the surface. So we explore what is the thermal performance on some diatoms that we isolated from the Red Sea. So we observe that they are very thermal tolerant because the temperature optimum. So we expose different species to a range of temperature, and so how they grow. And we observe that the maximum growth rate at the temperature optimum is high, ranging from 27 to 30, which is very high for diatoms. Also, we observe when comparing with Synechococcus that I know so, but that the temperature optimum is, however, lower than the one we observe for Synechococcus. However, they experience much higher growth rate than Synechococcus. And also they have a higher thermal limit. So the maximum temperature of these diatoms tend to be higher, and it is about 44 degrees, that it is not. That is the limit that we found for Synechococcus. So we want to know how they can be adapted to higher, even more warming. Okay, so we expose these diatoms to 26 degrees, which is the previous plot, for 6 months, and to 30 degrees for 6 months. 26 degrees will be the mean sea surface temperature of the Red Sea, so we made this scenario plus 4 degrees with respect to that. And well, this will be equivalent for this species for about 600 generations, and the experiment was run for 6 months. And what we found is that, well, these species were able to adapt to higher temperature. So 2 of these increases the temperature optimum by 2 degrees to 29 and to 31 degrees. And well, this is in agreement with the theory, the hypothesis that hotter is better. This hypothesis is, is indicating that adapting to higher temperature could be possible because this is accelerating the metabolic rates comparing to coal. Okay. The other two species didn't change the temperature optimum. However, we observed that they also adapt to warming by increasing the thermal limits. So they can experience growth at very high temperatures, even to 38 one, and even to 45 one of these species. So they have a significant capacity to adapt to warming. So we go now to see the case of Halophila stipulacea, which is a seagrass growing in the Red Sea. So in 1869, the interchange between the Red Sea and the Mediterranean was allowed because it was built the Suez Canal. The Suez Canal then it was built to facilitate the ship traffic between Europe and Asia, avoiding the traffic around Africa, but also this made the connection between the Red Sea and the Mediterranean. What we have in this exchange is that the tropical Red Sea species can migrate to the Mediterranean Sea. So the Mediterranean Sea is also experiencing warming. So this is an environment that is changing and will facilitate the invasion of tropical species then in the future. So Indo-Pacific species are now allowed to go to the Mediterranean Sea through this path. So the first record of Halophila stipulacea in the Mediterranean Sea came from 1 century ago, where it was observed in the Eastern Mediterranean. So the triangle will be the place, okay, where we first identify it. But now the small dots represent the distribution in the Mediterranean Sea of the seagrass. So it's present now in the Eastern Mediterranean and not in the Western. And we have the hypothesis that in the Western is not yet allowed to colonize because the difference in temperature. So even though the Mediterranean Sea is warming, the minimum temperature is still probably low for these species to grow there. Okay, so the minimum temperature in the Western Mediterranean can be 10 to 40 degrees, and in the Eastern is about 40, close to 50 degrees, so it's higher. So we take samples from 3 locations, from the Red Sea, from Cyprus, and from Greece, okay? And we spoke to 12 temperature treatments ranging from 8 to 40 degrees, and we tested the thermal performance of different aspects: survival, rhizome, elongation, recruitment, population growth, and some metabolic rates. And we observed a clear adaptation of the 3 traits. So the red one is the one from the Red Sea. The temperature optimal for primary production is close to 30 degrees. Although the other 2 specimens have lower temperature optimum. So the one in Greece is close to 25. The one in Cyprus was close to 27, with similar pattern we observe in the respiration. Also, we have observed this clear pattern in other properties as rhizome, elongation, or in recruitment. So again, the Red Sea is the one that have the higher optimum for those properties, and Greece is the one that's also served the lower. In fact, if we look at the thermal limit, the Halophila stipulacea have a very large capacity because they have a high breath temperature limit and can even survive at 8 degrees. However, what we identify that this is the limiting aspect is the temperature lower limit of rhizome elongation. So rhizome elongation is very close to the minimum temperature in the different sites. So with these results, we can identify that the Red Sea Alophila have been moved to higher capacity for growth and warming, and the opposite for the other two strains. So just to conclude, those examples from the Red Sea may help show that the species have capacity to adapt to warming. So this may help to reduce the biodiversity losses that are predicted. We don't know if this will help or influence in the carbon burial sequestration in the blue carbon ecosystems that we are analyzing here. So diatoms, which are a very important component of the biological carbon pan in the oceans, demonstrate high capacity for warming adaptation and a fast adaptation to warming that was in months. Alophila also show with high capacity of thermal adaptation and shift in the thermal niche when adapted to moving from the Red Sea to the Mediterranean Sea. However, the capacity is not so fast, so could be years, it will require for seagrasses, will require years or even decades to get adapted. Our problem is that, well, of course, capacity will depend with organisms, so we need to know more about this in the rest of the organisms. And of course, well, study the Red Sea, with this a special case in warming, may help to inform and understand how marine ecosystem in other regions may respond in the future to the ongoing warming. And I thank you and the conference to invite me for this speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Susanna. And a very different kind of presentation we have now that we are concentrating in the compensation due to the blue carbon ecosystem to stop the climate change. But in the nature side, as we see that that is excited that the diatoms and the Halophila, that one of the species of the seagrass, is adapting themselves to the higher temperature. That is very inspiring word. I heard that let's see at the natural laboratory, so we can see what will be happening in the other side of the world. Thank you very much again for your prestigious presentation. So I'm sorry. Here I speak in Japanese. Sorry. 私の進行が悪くて、
I apologize for bad management as a moderator. We already overshot the schedule, so we'd like to, however, entertain one question because this is a very valuable opportunity for all of us. And if you have further questions, please utilize the Q&A break time.
何か会場からございますでしょうか。
Are there any questions? So please use the microphone. I have many questions, but I'd like to ask Dr. Kondo. I really enjoyed your presentation. I think you gave us the very important and interesting the findings, but when it comes to the conservation or restoration or the restoration of the biodiversity or ecosystem, what I think are there I think we need to have a way of thinking of applying the concept of the upstream and the downstream to the animal kingdom. Can you do that with DNA technology? I thank you for your question. Well, downstream and upstream, this might be a little bit different, but I think that is possible. But there is a concept of a keystone species in the ecosystem. The change of such a species, they can change, can impact overall the ecosystem. So the variable, data. So if you look at, there is the way of estimating the cause and effect, and we have the chronological data. So the change of the DNA of one species, and there is the change in the diversity. Then we can suspect that the change of the one species can have an impact on the overall change of the ecosystem. That's what we have been studying right now. Thank you very much. This is a very important but a very challenging area. But I expect to hear from you further of the results of your studies. Once again, we'd like to express our appreciation to the other speakers. Now I turn the microphone to Saeki-san.
皆様ありがとうございました。
Thank you very much for your participation. We have a short break up to 11:30. Thank you. Now we would start the session 1. During the session 1, which is entitled as the Forefront of Practice 1, fishermen, companies, and citizens will introduce to us their respective activities where they take the initiatives to restore the eelgrass beds and blue carbon ecosystems. For this session, our moderator is Mr. Masanori Kobayashi of the Ocean Policy Research Institute of the Sasakawa Peace Foundation. Mr. Kobayashi, please. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am Kobayashi of the Ocean Policy Research Institute of the Sasakawa Peace Foundation. Masanori Kobayashi is my name. Thank you for this interest session. That is the Forefront of Peace Practice 1, the involvement and the interaction of the fishermen and companies and people through the restoration of and conservation of the eelgrass or seagrass beds will be our theme. I'm looking forward to it, so we have a limited time. So 7 people will be appearing as the presenters. After the presentation, we'd like to have a Q&A session. With this in mind, firstly, we'd like to invite the first speaker, Mr. Tomokazu Kawabata, the chairman of JF National Fisheries Cooperative Youth Division. He's talking about the changes in awareness among young Japanese fishermen. Please, Mr. Kawabata, start your presentation. Thank you for your kind introduction. As a matter, in my English, I would like to speak to you. Please bear with me. So let me start.
Hello, everyone. I'm Tomokazu Kawabata from Japan Fisheries Cooperative Youth Federation. Today, I will introduce the project Japanese fishermen are working on to create seaweed beds in Japan. To begin with, let me introduce myself. I'm 45 years old and a third-generation fisherman from Yamakawa, Kagoshima Prefecture. I'm working as the president of the Youth Club for Fishermen to prevent our rich marine environment for the future. In recent years, seaweed in the coastal area of Japan has been disappearing. This phenomenon is called isoyake. The Japanese government supports coastal conservation activities with multifaceted function of fisheries industry. As a result, many seaweed beds have been listed all over the country. Today, I will introduce for people who are undertaking efforts beyond the support from the government. First, let's zoom in on Kiritapu, Hamanakacho, Hokkaido. This is Genji Yamazaki, a kelp fisherman. He's cleaned the bedrock of the seabed to expand the distribution area of kelp. The tool he used to clean the seabed. They are put by the boat like this. By cooperating with many fishermen, they have successfully created a kelp forest on such a bedrock. As a result, the kelp yield has also increased and it contributes to the absorption of carbon dioxide as blue carbon. The clean-up activities cost fishermen about 130,000 yen a year for one person, but they are willing to participate in their activities for the environment. Now, let's have a look at the project in Karatsu City, Chiba Prefecture. This is Shozo Kesamaru, a diving fisherman in Karatsu City, Chiba Prefecture. 20 years ago, he realized that the sea he had now all his life was experiencing isoyake. Since then, he has been removing sea urchin in between work. There are collected sea urchins. He cracks arch one open, and small fish come to clean them up. Thanks to his work, 11 hectares of seaweed beds have been successfully restored. And last year, JBE certified that the seaweed beds absorb 40 tons of carbon. Kesamaru is sharing his hard work on his YouTube channel, the Kesamaru channel. He is now called Mobasaka Ji-san. Thank you. Next, let's focus on Setouchi-cho, Kagoshima Prefecture. This is Kota Kiku. He used to be a small wrestler at Dosha University, and now he is working at Setouchi Town Hall. Currently, he teaches fishermen to use net to prevent fish from grazing on seaweed. First, they cast stone into the sea for seaweed to grow on. Then, they set up fences and partitions to protect the stone. As a result, the seaweed beds are protected from fish grazing and have been restored like this. Also, fishermen in this area have come to understand the importance of seaweed and are actively participating in activities. Finally, I'd like to introduce my project in Yamakawa, Kagoshima. I have also been working on seaweed-based restoration for the past 18 years. In the beginning, the more sea urchins I got rid of, the better the seaweed beds were restored. However, in the past 5 years, some restored seaweed beds have started to experience iseaki again. I recently found out the cause. Please take a look at this. This fish grazing. The fish eat up the seaweed bed in a moment. The only way to protect seaweed was to surround them with a net. This video was recorded in May this year. Now let's dive in to see what's happening underwater. There is no seaweed outside the net. However, when we look inside the net, we can see seaweed and a lot of small fish. The seaweed look healthy and tall. All right じゃないや。すみません。すみません。Let's recap. Today introduced the effort of 4 individuals, including myself. Seaweed beds can be restored by cleaning the bedrocks, removing sea urchins, and installing protection such as fences and nets. But there are also other fishermen tackling the problems in their own ways. In the sea area where we are active, the damage caused by fish grazing has become worse as the seawater temperature rises. What we have to do next is to expand the habitat area of seaweed that withstands fish grazing pressure. Actually, we are already working on the new project. Please look forward to our future efforts. As fishermen, I believe it is our responsibility to enrich the marine environment. We will continue to do our best to increase the number of fishermen who act with such ideas. Thank you for listening until the end. Would you like the 3 people I introduced to take the stage? ミスター山崎？どうぞどうぞ。はい、もう時間ないから早くして。真ん中。
Come to the middle.
Surprise. Please share your aspiration for the future in English. お願いします。それ何？
My name is Shozo Kesamar. My name is Shozo Kesamar. I'm a Japanese fisherman. As you all know, desertification of the ocean is currently a problem, and I am struggling daily to solve it. Nature will not wait for us. That is I thought action was necessary. Thank you.
My name is Kota Kiku. I will do my best. Do my best and reach the Sea of Amami. Thank you.
My name is Kenji Yamazaki. By creating a rich sea, we will protect the next generation of fishermen, and the global environment will also be better. Thank you.
From then, I will switch back to Japanese with us to make Japanese ocean better and richer. We'd like to do our best. I'd like to call upon for your guidance and cooperation in the days ahead. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Tomokazu Kawabata, Chairman JF National Fisheries Cooperative Youth Division, and also Mr. Kesamaru, Mr. Kiku, Mr. Yamazaki. So passionate presentation of their actions, and I'm sure that you'd like to have more questions and elaborations. I guess it's very impressive to have a bilingual fisherman in Kagoshima, and I'm very much encouraged. I'd like to next invite Mr. Tatsumi Amaku, Hinase Fishery Cooperatives, who will make a presentation entitled Hinase, a Southern Fisheries Town. Mr. Amakura, please take your floor.
Good morning, everyone. I'm from business city of Okayama Prefecture. My name is Amakura. I don't speak English, so like the previous speaker, so I'd like to speak Japanese. I'd like to introduce to you what we are doing for the SDGs, utilizing our eelgrass resources. Now, where we are the bordering the neighboring Hyogo Prefecture and the Hinase town has the 13 large and small islands, depending on the traditionally fisheries as well as the tourism with temperate climate. The Bizen pottery is one of is a thing that makes us famous, and also the Shizutani school is the former school. This is the heritage Japanese heritage site, and also the oyster, using pancakes, so to speak, is the delicacy, and the Toriage Island forms the border with the neighboring prefecture. We are composed of 70 members and the 50 associate members, and the small set net, the bottom trawling, and the gill nets, the representative fisheries. And about 90% of the landing of our fisheries are the members that come from oyster. And the Gomin market is where fishers sell directly their landing to customers. The Gomi means the 5 tastes. Meaning their variety of foods representing seasonality. And annually we have 400,000 visitors. Eelgrass bed is already known to you, but it's a very important ecosystem, and dubbed as the cradle of the sea. And this is the eelgrass bed in our community. This produces the hydrogen oxygen, and on the surface you can clearly see the oxygen bubbles that are coming up from the bottom of the sea. And if you snap this, you can see the air bubble, oxygen bubble are coming out. And so dissolved the hydrogen is provided even after the sunset. And the vegetative shoot is usually for the growth method, but the seedling and flowering bodies also develop, and during the summer, sea temperature goes up to 30 degrees centigrade. So this is an annual plant, usually depending on the seeding. And about how to build the beds. On the high tide in the May and June, we collect the drifting the eelgrass. And so we have the sufficient coverage of the beds so that we collect the eelgrass, the drifting eelgrass, and we they hang it on this bag, and in October we collect them and select them for good ones using specific gravity. So the muddy water is removed, and after repeating this process, we can collect seeds like this. This is seeds of the eelgrass, and we bring them to the location where we want to grow further. And in our area in 1945, this shows the coverage of eelgrass, the 590 hectare in 1945, that it drops to 82 because of the rapid economic growth. The vertical, the coastal, the defense systems were built, and the untreated household water, wastewater, they flown into the sea, and that the rapidly degraded water quality. So we started to the regeneration of the eelgrass bed, and this is a small set net. And the eelgrass used to cover densely. And that provided the spawning grounds and nursery grounds for fish. That's why we traditionally practiced this way of fishing, setting small nets. And then the fishers started to notice the declining landings and declining fish species. And they saw the rising the fatalities of the fish. And so, but we started to introduce the already established the eelgrass, the bed rehabilitation method, and we started our program in 1985. The eelgrass is not eaten, and we depend on the landing of the fish. So even though we collect and plant the eelgrass, fishers couldn't benefit financially. That's some complaint. But fortunately, the Otabu Island, the farthest from the coastline, had the natural the growth coverage of eelgrass. So we replanted 150 the 1,000 the eelgrass seeds. This amount two rice bowls. Two rice bowlfuls of seeds. So we didn't succeed, and we surveyed the bottom soil, the very mud water, as you can see. So so Oyonago Bay and Otabu Island on the right. You see where we had the natural growth of eelgrass, but on the left, the soil was full of the sludge. So we started using zeolite in the planting area. This is the volcanic the soil, and then as a result, in a circular manner, we had the growth of eelgrass. But the continuing the using zeolite would be expensive, so we started to use the oyster shell, and this is the pilot area. The result was very successful. So we decided to use the oyster shells for the rehabilitation of eelgrass beds, and we use. But we already we don't need the using oyster shell today, and this is a guidelines using the oyster shell for the eelgrass rehabilitation. This is the program conducted by the Okayama Prefecture government, and we work with the agricultural cooperatives. This is Satoimi the project. The oyster shell is used for the rice field and the vegetable field, and apparently crop increased because the oyster shells they help to establish the strong roots of rice. And in 2002, the marine ranch the project was conceived. And the oyster rafts they were deployed for the eelgrass growth, and then the fish will also grow in the mid-layer area, and that will swim offshore, and then they further grow the offshore under the oyster raft, and that would increase the landing for fishers, and floating the breakwater was also established, and the number of the setnet fishers, however, started to decline. And the younger generation and the successors came together to form what we call the Eelgrass Club. The membership stands at 123 today. And fisheries agencies, the subsidies and supporting programs have been utilized and supported by various the sponsors. At the beginning, we had 83 members, and 2012, the consumer cooperative in Okayama and Okayama Prefecture government, and also the Satoumi Creation Research Council, a non-profit organization, also they got together with us. They are now participating in the seeding, planting, and we produce the materials to be used by local the elementary schools to learn the importance and the value of eelgrass beds. And starting 23, well, in 2010, we saw the steady growth of the eelgrass beds, and then that means that we see the sudden increase of the drift, the eelgrass, the standing in the way of the navigation. So in order to avoid being criticized by local people, we started to collect the drifting the eelgrass for reuse. And the local the middle school students also accepted our call to join us. and cooperate. And starting in 1985, and for the 148 million seeds were planted over the last 38 years. And now we plant the seeds in the area where the marine ranch projects are planted. So the beds they stood at 12 hectares in 1985, and it increased to more than 150 to 120 hectares today. And so apparently every day we see the steady growth rates. And these are the members working, and because of the growth of the eelgrass beds, we also see the very rich, the sufficient amount of the flowering shoots and drifting shoots. And the researchers and the local school students they learn and took the training and collect and the students collect the stories from fishermen, and their the skill to listen and write improved. And twice a year we go on land and go into the mountains to plant trees. Together with the forestry cooperatives. And in fact, the forestry cooperative members got interested in our activity at sea, and they started joining us. And 2016, we had the national eelgrass summit and we had 2,000 members participating in 3-day program. And after that, we studied the branding of Satoumi, Sato, or Yama, they produce using local produce. And in the same year, the government, the Prime Minister's Award was given to us as a contribution to for the building of a maritime state. And also Okayama Gakugeikan, the high school, also one of our members, we had the presentation sessions as well. And starting this year, local businesses they joined, and for 11 days, 959 other people joined. They're nearly 1,000. So this is my last page. Over the last 38 years, we steadily increased the expanse of the eelgrass beds in our community. In order to continue, as the previous speaker said, the local fishermen should continue to be at the center with a dedication for the preservation and conservation of the local sea where our livelihood depends. Thank you very much, Mr. Amakura.
One of the legendary success stories in Japan. It's been over 38 years involving local schools and corporations, and I see these linkages between fisheries and agriculture, rice farming, and also like a marketing of some other food, processed food. It's a very impressive success story, and I hope that we can know more about further details. Next, I would like to invite Dr. Hajime Shiota, representative of Amamo Revival Collaboration in Kanazawa Hakkei, Tokyo Bay area, entitled Restoration of Eelgrass Beds by Collaborations of Various Sectors. Dr. Shiota, please take the floor.
Thank you, Chairman. Today, I will talk in Japanese. Okay.
Thank you for the introduction. So I am Shiota from the Amamo Revival Collaboration in Kanazawa Hakkei, Tokyo Bay area. This is the area where we are active. there's a city of Yokohama, and on the southern side there is the Kanazawa Ward, and it's facing the Tokyo Bay. It's the entrance of the Tokyo Bay. So what kind of area is it? Right now there are a lot of houses. It's a residential area. This is from the Meiji era, and it's borrowed from the archives. And so you can see that there's a lot of nature. And it's been remembered in that way. And then in the a little bit before that, you have in the latter part of the Edo era and the 4 drawings. And on the bottom part, you see the people who are in contact with the sea. For example, the top right is looking for clams, and then the bottom ones are fishing. And the bottom right is probably leisure cruising. So in this way, people have had an affinity with the sea, and it is recorded in these old drawings. And Tokyo Bay was seen to be developing, and yellow is Meiji era, when there used to be the eelgrass beds, and then there was reclamation. 20% of Tokyo Bay had been reclaimed, and there was water pollution that is due to industrial and domestic wastewater, and so eelgrass beds have decreased from 1978 to 1991. It's a bit old. You see 2,077 hectares of eelgrass beds have been lost. Right now, we have the areas in green where there is eelgrass beds. But anyway, there is a big reduction. And so the citizens who did not want to accept this situation, the volunteers, well, you see this place called Nojima in the southern part of Yokohama. They decided to restore the eelgrass. And above that, you see Umi no Koen, which is a artificial shore, and that was where the activity started. And then in 2003, in this way, civic organizations gathered together, and it's a long name, Amamo Revival Collaboration in Kanazahake, Tokyo Bay Area, and it's so long it's difficult to put on a receipt. But you see the words in blue that diverse actors are collaborating to restore the eelgrass bed. And in other words, people of various walks of life gathered together to restore the eelgrass bed, like civic organizations, NPOs, government, fishermen, corporations, schools, universities. So people in various fields are participating in this framework. And then you see that it is a kind of a loose collaboration. In other words, it's not a tight kind of organization. That's a characteristic. So you see all of these people, and sometimes they are no longer active, and still it's remaining on this figure. At any rate, it is a rather loose collaboration. So, what kind of activities take place? We saw the example shown earlier. There are 4 main activities. And we have people gather in an open event. And this is the May-June period to get seeds. So the seeds are collected and sorted, and we use buckets and filters to filter away the mud to get the seeds. And then in November, that's last week, we had this activity. We create the seedlings. We plant in planters, and then we put it in a large tank and maintain it. And then, as you see to the bottom right, you get the seedlings. And then the seedlings are transplanted to the seabed. Right now, we have experiments on Biojima Island, and this is in the southern tip of Kanazawa Hakke. It's about 2 or 3 minute walk. The environment is not that good, but we've tried there, and also we provide seedlings to people who are transplanting the seedlings in Tokyo Bay. And again, this is from a while ago. It says 2005 on the left. Top is Nojima, and you see the eelgrass field in the darker color. And you see after 3 years, it's gone quite well, and there's no longer a place to plant. So 5 hectares have been restored, and this is starting from scratch. When eelgrass returns, then diverse organisms also return, so that it is now a bountiful sea. And we need to watch what will happen going forward. And the aim of this session, as was introduced, there were 4 events: a seed collection, seed selection, transplanting of seedlings, and growing seedlings. So various people gathered together, mainly citizens, and the photo is not that big, but you see elementary school children too, or groups and corporations. Usually more than 100 people gather. And so many people are participating, and it is gradually expanding. And when we talk about nature restoration, it takes time, and we will find it at a certain age difficult to continue. So we want the children to participate and have fun. And it is with the hope that the activities can be passed on to the next generation. On the right side, this is sowing and also planting, and also there are presentations. The other day, as mentioned, there is the concept of blue carbon, which is being disseminated. And this is JBE, and we've been certified. Companies can purchase the credit, and the companies that purchase credit, they are engaging in the eelgrass bed restoration, and I think we are seeing changes in terms of citizens' activities and corporate activities. But it's not all good. In the Minato-ku, which is a marine park of Yokohama City, you have windsurfing, and then you have shellfish gathering on the right side, so it's a beach for swimming. But after Minato-ku, it's been about 30 years since it's been established, and it was a place where there was no eelgrass, but they returned, and well, it was growing 50 or 60 years ago, and then it's now returned here, and citizens say that it's an obstacle to swimming and windsurfing too. So we get such comments from the citizens. So how can we coexist? And you see, this is drifting eelgrass on the beach. And if it accumulates in the park, then it will also create an odor and not visibly pleasant too. Also, there are various activities, and one thing that's interesting, in 2 shrines, well, actually, they have been conducting rituals which are connected to the eelgrass. On the left side, you see the arrows in green and yellow. They use the eelgrass and they put it on the portable shrine. And on the right side, you see that eelgrass are offered. So it's a traditional ritual, and I didn't know about it, but Kanazawa Ward in Yokohama City has deep ties with eelgrass historically. So that is the present state of activities. What will happen in the future? So you see, population of Yokohama City, 3.7 million, and Kanazawa Ward, 200,000 people. So many people are living here. And the people who gather, well, they're from different positions and different backgrounds. And so from the connection between diverse people, I think we have been able to develop interesting activities. And you see in the background various photos. Some people are good at drawing, some people are good at singing, or children sometimes come up with good ideas. So I think we are seeing a variety of interesting activities. I participate too, and I enjoy the activities each time. And so the citizens, how can they be involved in a very fun way is issue. And so not much of a conclusion, but I would like to close here. Thank you very much. So this was from Mr. Shiota of the Mamo River Collaboration in Kanazawa Hake, Tokyo Bay Area.
Seagrass, defined as a cradle of ocean, and I was also interested in learn that the seagrass is also linked to the ritual festival embedded in the local culture as well. I have now a pleasure to introduce Mr. Tsutomu Ise, Kanto Region Development Bureau, Ministry of Land, Infrastructure, Transport, and Tourism, to make a presentation entitled Efforts of the Tokyo Bay Umi Project. Mr. Ise, please take a floor.
Thank you for your introduction. I am representing the Kanto Region Development Bureau of MIEMRIT, Ministry of Land, Infrastructure, Transport, and Tourism. Up to age 18, I lived in Akita. I came up to Tokyo. Then I speak with Akita dialect, so it is difficult for you to pick me up or hear me because of my dialect. Please bear with me. Thank you. I am from administration, so you might think that I am to speak rather rigidly. You might think that's the way it is with me, my elocution. In order to make a breakthrough in your stereotype, I would like to say that. But it is hard to put into practice. I know that. As it happens, please bear with me as well in this regard. Now, without further ado, I would like to talk about the activity by the Kanto Regional Development Bureau. Throughout the nation, we have, within MIEMRIT, we have public works, like roads around rivers, around the ports and harbors. They are incorporated into a project, works to develop them. At 10 districts we have, respectively, we are doing day-to-day work as the bureau. In our case, so in our organization, we are responsible for the ports and airports. This is where we have a jurisdiction for our responsibilities. You know, in Kanto region, we have Ibaraki, Chiba, Tokyo, Kanagawa, whereby we have the nation responsible ports and the piers and the cruise terminals and container terminals and the port protection areas and the reclamation. These are the areas that we have been taking works. When it comes to Amamo, that is the restoration of eelgrass, it is rather against this spirit of restoration in my work. So the designing of these facilities and the management and development and so forth, we are working primarily indoors, working in that domain. I'm in the late 50s, so in this department, I am now able to be engaged with the restoration of eelgrass beds. This is very impressive mission for me. This is how I feel. So we paid attention to Tokyo Bay. We have a Haneda Airport, Tokyo Port, Yokohama, Shin Honmoku Futo, that is pier, new container terminal, the minus 18 meters, the deepest pier, and the routes, the sea routes that are now being prepared and developed at this point. Against this background, why is it that we are to be engaged in the restoration of eelgrass beds? This is written in the paper. This is a rather busy picture. You get a headache by looking at it. When I am to explain this to you, I was wondering how I can put it into words. But I like to rather run and make it very casual. At the very top, you see that we have, in accordance with the Port and Harbor Act, we have a development of the basic policy that is for the concerned development of ports and harbors and development and conservation sea route. This is document. We have developed this document and made it public. We have to express our determination. Against this background, environmental description, that is, there are 3 items concerned for our reasons. Those are reasons for the restoration of environment. Number 1, so we have to be engaged in active conservation and regeneration and creation of a natural environment. Number 2, responding to the diversified environmental issues related to the carbon neutrality. So we have steel making and power generation, cement making, and the paper making. About 60% of these CO2 emission generating areas there. So we have to cope with this issue as well. And also we have to do very firm work of environmental conservation. These are how we are positioned. Our themes are being upheld. Other than that, in the left-hand side, you see that we have a cabinet secretary and the urban regeneration headquarters. It was installed in May 2001, where what we are to do is that we have an urban regeneration project. This is to be determined in order to do the activities. That when it comes to urban areas, they have many issues one after another. Against these issues of the urban areas, individually we make a plan to tackle the issues. So under the direct responsibility of our cabinet secretariat, we are doing this. We have an urban regeneration project. We have to develop it to make things and determine the things and be engaged in the works. In 2001, the headquarters was made, and in December, we have set aside the regeneration of the sea in urban area. In the latter phase, in the 3rd phase, it was determined So that upon this, we have Tokyo Bay Regeneration Promotion Council. This is rather rigid sounding organization. It was installed in February 2000 with the related ministries and agencies. And we have developed an action plan for regeneration of the Tokyo Bay. This is a very lofty ideas in document. I don't know whether you appreciate it or not. It depends upon how you objectively you see it. As a phase 1, from March 2003, it was built. And at the interval of 10 years, phase 2 is from May 2013, and phase 3 was in May this year. Roughly every 10 years, it is revised. In here, on the left-hand side, this is a flow of office work. So it is not to be done by us alone. We can't make step forward. It is clear for everyone. So in phase 2, we just give up as the ministries. So we have held in November 2001, as a part of phase 2, we have held the Tokyo Bay Regeneration Public-Private Collaboration Forum. This is explained in the next page. Let me follow. Left hand, there is members of the Tokyo Bay Promotion Council, related ministries and agencies like the Cabinet Office, Regional Revitalization Promotion Secretariat, Ministry, Emirate, and local and government. 9 prefectures around Tokyo and ordinance cities and so forth are involved. In here, in this council, we have Land Area Major Subcommittee that is supervised by the Water and Disaster Management Bureau of Emirate. That is to measures to reduce pollution load in the basins by development and functional improvement of sewages. Number 2, we have a Sea Area Major Subcommittee under the jurisdiction of Port and Harbor Bureau of Emirate. That is to take measures to purify the Tokyo Bay, such as conservation and regeneration of tidal flats and shallow areas. Below which we have a UMI project, UMI project, where we are engaged. This is under this, and we have a monitoring subcommittee as well. On the right side, we have a Tokyo Bay Regeneration Public and Private Collaboration Forum, because it cannot be done only by the ministries. So at present, the number of resident members is 350, and the organization, the organization group members and memberships are 135. This is on a volunteer basis. So many people are participating in this activity. Within this forum, we have a planning and management committee. Also, we have the Tokyo Bay Regeneration Thanksgiving Day design team. We are making various designs. And also we have project for creating habitats for living organisms, fishes and so forth. We have to develop the habitat for them. And also indicate a project. We have to do the environmental monitoring project is as well. Be prepared. So at this moment in time, so the UMI Pro, namings for them Pro, is for Tokyo Bay We Love All project, We Love All Sea project. That you see in the left-hand side, we have Emirate with the MPO and the citizens organizations. Along with these organizations, we like to focus on this, and they fund. We like to extend our fund as well along with the corporations, companies rather. We are in the middle of a matchmaking. We are to be engaged as the interface organization. Within Tokyo Bay, as was mentioned by Dr. Shiota, the Sea Park and the Bands tidal flat in Chiba, and also we have a Rinko Park in here, the Minato-ku in Yokohama. There are lots of people here. In the front side, we have artificial shallow area so that we would be promoting the regeneration of seaweed beds. So this is also overlapped with the Dr. Shiota's activities, so I will skip this over. And lastly, I'd like to talk about, introduce to you, we have 5 companies participating in UMI Pro. We'd like to continue to recruit more companies. If you are willing to participate, please let us know. Thank you. We are waiting for it. This completes my presentation. Thank you for your attention. Mr. Ise-san, thank you very much.
The Ministry of Infrastructure, Land and Transport, Kanto Regional Bureau. I think he has been providing very instrumental institutional framework for multi-stakeholder collaborations and collective actions in restoring the marine environment in the Tokyo Bay. Thank you indeed for your very interesting presentations. Now I have a pleasure to introduce Ms. Haruka Shimura, Maruha Nichiro Corporation, and to make a presentation entitled Why the Maruha Nichiro Group is Engaged in Environmental Restoration Activities. Ms. Shimura, please take the floor.
ご紹介いただきありがとうございます。
Thank you for your introduction. Thank you very much indeed. My name is Haruka Shimura of Maruha Nichiro. I'd like to talk in English.
About why the Maruha Nichiro Group engages in environmental restoration activities. First, I'd like to briefly introduce the Maruha Nichiro Group. The Maruha Nichiro Group makes the most of the knowledge and assets it has accumulated over more than 140 years and works together with society and environment to support the food of people around the world through domestic as well as global business development. For Japanese people, I think our canned and frozen food found in supermarkets are familiar products. Not only that, but it was also actually the first private company to succeed in complete cultivation of bluefin tuna. So in this way, our business activities are supported by a wide variety of living organisms, including marine resources from all over the world. The preservation of biodiversity is an extremely important issue for us, and one of the materiality in its sustainability strategies in the preservation of biodiversity and ecosystem. For sustainable business activities, we promote activities that are in line with our business, such as international resource management and environmentally friendly aquaculture business practices. At the same time, to promote the conservation of marine and terrestrial biodiversity and ecosystem, we have been working to restore eelgrass beds in Tokyo Bay. We have been cooperating in restoration of eelgrass beds in Tokyo Bay since 2015 under the guidance of the NPO Seashore Creation Study Group, which Mr. Furukawa is chairman of the board of directors, and have been certified as a member of the Tokyo Bay UMI UMI project since 2016. As explained by Mr. Ise beforehand, the Tokyo Bay UMI UMI project is an initiative led by the Ministry of Land, Infrastructure, Transport, and Tourism to expand of the circle of Tokyo Bay restoration activities by diverse entities, inviting companies to work with NPOs and the general public to restore eelgrass beds and increase people's understanding and interest in the sea. So specific activities of the Tokyo Bay UMI project include collecting flowering branches in early summer and planting seeds in the fall to support the cycle of eelgrass beds restoration. Just we did the planting of seeds earlier this month. The event is also used as a venue for environmental education for our employees and their families, with sometimes more than 100 people participating. also to support the students who will read the next generation, we have co-sponsored the Seashore Nature Restoration High School Student Summit since 2017. This event is held as a part of program of the National Eelgrass Summit and provides a forum for high school students from all over Japan who are working to restore the natural and environmental of the seashore, to present their activities and exchange information with each other. In addition to continuing our activities in Tokyo Bay, we are currently aiming to work with local communities to restore the environment in other areas where we do business. The first step in this direction was the planting of mangroves of Amami-Oshima Island, where our aquaculture business is located. Incorporating with the local Setouchi town, we are working with Mr. Kiku of Setouchi town, introduced earlier during Mr. Kawabata's presentation. In the future, we would like to engage in eelgrass and other seaweed-based restoration activities, which we consider as activities to protect the sea in the area where we conduct our business activities together with local people. In recent years, the attitude to Japanese companies toward environmental activities and biodiversity has been changing, including expectation for use the blue carbon to achieve carbon neutrality, efforts to achieve the 30 by 30 target, and compliance with the TNFD, and business needs for activities related to biodiversity and ecosystem conservation are increasing. However, companies alone lack the knowledge of where and how to conduct activities efficiently. On the other hand, NPOs and other local activities groups also face various challenges, such as lack of manpower, technology, and funds for their activities. We believe that in order to solve the issue on both sides, cooperation among businesses, government, and academic research institutes and activity groups is necessary. And we hope that the government will play a platform role in connecting these companies and activity groups. It is also important for multiple companies to collaborate, for academic and research institutes to work together, and for information to reach exchange among activity groups to produce greater effects. Finally, what we would like to say in summary is that even as environmental activities are increasingly focused on business opportunities, we must not forget that original purpose of these activities is to restore the increase of the sea, restore the richness of the sea, and to revitalize the sea where local people live and work. To continue and expand future activities as the Maruha Nichiro Group, we would like to promote understanding among our employees, local governments, universities, local residents, and other stakeholders, and work in collaboration with them. That's all for my presentation. Thank you so much for kind of attention. ご清聴ありがとうございました。
Thank you for your attention. I'm Shimura of Maruha Nichiro Group. Thank you very much.
Maruha Nichiro Corporation, one of the leading fishery and seafood companies in Japan, is proactively engaged in the restoration of coastal environment with the partnership of various stakeholders. Thank you very much for very encouraging and inspiring stories of your activities. Next, I have a pleasure to introduce Mr. Hitoshi Morinaga, 7-Eleven Foundation, to make a presentation entitled The Future Vision of 7-Eleven Foundation. Mr. Morinaga, please take a floor.
それでは皆さんこんにちは。
Good afternoon, everyone. So I am the Director General of 7-Eleven Foundation. So I would like to speak in Japanese. First of all, thank you for giving me this opportunity. My time is limited, but I would like to let you know about some of our activities. So first of all, as you see here, 7-Eleven Foundation is aiming to create a society where Japan's beautiful nature can be passed on to the next generation. So we have such activities with all of you, and we act on our own, but in various places there are those people who are active in environmental protection, and we want to support such people. Very briefly, this is the overview of the foundation. It was established in November of 1993 as the 20th anniversary activity of 7-Eleven Japan. And the 7-Eleven stores and the headquarters together decided to engage in social contribution activities with environment as a theme. And as you know, 7-Eleven Japan, well, you know that there are 7-Elevens all over the world, and so the foundation was born from this group, and there are 21,400 stores or so in Japan, and we originally started a 7-Eleven Green Fund, and the foundation was established in March of 2010. And the president is Yamamoto Kenji. He is the owner of the first 7-Eleven store. He's been managing the store for 50 years. And actually, the 7-Eleven Foundation on November 20th, 2023, that's 2 days from now, will celebrate its 30th anniversary. And I think it is due to the support of all of you here and elsewhere. And so this is the 30th anniversary year, so we have various activities. One of them is to design a logo under which we promote our activities. And the logo, you see a baton. And we want to link to the future. Our slogan, as I said, is to link to the future. That's our theme. So we keep that in mind. And we have designed this logo. And as the 30th anniversary year, we are promoting various activities. So where is the principle of the funding of our activities? Well, 7-Eleven Foundation has this kind of donation box in its stores. Well, some of you may not have noticed it, so I hope next time you visit 7-Eleven, you'll take a look and, if possible, to donate. And the donations are the funds that we used. And also, there are donations from corporations and groups and individuals. And also, this donation box, and I will explain about the Miyagi Prefecture 7 forest. We used the thinning of the wood forest there, and it is assembled in a facility to support and assist persons with disabilities in Miyagi Prefecture, Osaki City. So you see there are 4 main activities. One is environmental citizen activity support. Second is natural environment protection and preservation, disaster recovery support, and public relations. I don't have time to introduce all of these activities, so I will just mention our representative activity. One is to support environmental citizen activity. For example, in the region, in the community, you want to clean up the community. Let's say there is someone or a group who is thinking about that. Then brooms or equipment will be necessary. And if that is the case, they can apply. And maybe they want to plant flowers. And they may want to buy the sapling. Then they can apply to us. And then we will screen. And if we agree, then as subsidy, this can be provided. In other words, so you have the stores all over Japan, and then there is the donation from the community, and then the managers will collect them, and then it is entrusted to the foundation, and then we recycle it back to the community. Environment is circulating, and we are also doing the same thing. And with those feelings, we promote our activities. In other words, the money donated by people is going to be used to support the community environmental activities. So this is a citizen participation type of activity. And the result of the activity, well, there are 4 support for beautifying the community, to assist in activities, to help in strengthening NPO foundations, and also to subsidize forests. And 391 applied, and 258 were decided on. And we have, as the total amount of subsidy, 121 million or so. Next activity is natural environment protection and preservation. And there is a forest on the land and forest in the sea. In other words, we want to reduce CO2 as well as restore the abundant natural resources. And you see the connection here. You see the forests and the rivers and the oceans. So we have green carbon by protecting forests, and blue carbon that is through the restoration of eelgrass beds. And all over Japan, including past activities, there are 30 or so 7 forests, 7 sea forests. And right now, in 17 prefectures, 19 places, we have this activity. And there are 2 characters. One is that forest and ocean, or use have a bamboo forests and wetlands, and you have the meadows and lakes. So other than the forests, there are, with community residents, the integrated activities, and also there are various civic activities that are supported. But we also work together with you in the 7 forests. In other words, 7-Eleven stores and employees, and also those people in the communities. We together engage in environmental preservation and protection. And we would like to create more 7 forests and 7 sea forests. Right now, it's 17 prefectures, 19 locations, but we want to expand this activity all over Japan so that we can be of as much use as possible to protect the environment. Now, Let me talk a bit about the ocean and our projects connected to the ocean. As was explained, there is the Tokyo Bay Umi project, which is participated in by Maruha Nichiro too, and we also participate. So twice a year or so we have this activity, and for example, on November 1st recently, there was 96 people engaged in the activity. We did seeding of eelgrass, and we made observations of living creatures. Next is Hannan 7 ocean sea forest activity, and along with the people of the region, we protect the ocean, and June 3rd, 71 people participated in this activity. And then there is in the Tohoku area in the north of Japan, Shiogama 7 forest activity. With the earthquake, a lot was lost, and the people wanted to restore the forests and sea and the rivers. Recently, in November 11th, 112 people gathered, and also there is the activity in Aomori Prefecture. Again, this is the ocean forest, and on October 15th, we participated in the activity. And the forest, sea forest, is to be expanded further. And I think there will be explanations which will follow. For example, Tateyama Sea Forest will be introduced by Mr. or Ms. Takeyama later on. And so there are a number of activities in this way. We want to expand these activities so it can be of as much use as possible. And finally, what we think is most important, and I think it's been mentioned many times today, is continuing and to pass on to the next generation, to the future. And our objective is that in the community there are groups and people who are active and who have a lot of passion. And those people, so that they can work hard in their community, will be bear fruit, maybe not in 2 or 3 years, but in 2 or 3 decades. And we feel that is important, and we want to try to back up such people. So I hope that the activities can be supported, and we would like to receive a lot of information for you and expand our activities. Thank you for your kind attention. So from 7-Eleven Foundation, Mr. Morinaga.
Foundation. I came back from Manila 2 days ago, and I saw so many 7-Eleven in Manila as well, and I hope that there can be some other similar activities to be initiated in the Philippines and other countries as well. I have a pleasure now to introduce Mr. Shoichi Takeuchi from Tateyama Umibeno Kanteidan to make a presentation entitled Restoration Activities and Expansion of Eelgrass Bed and Forests on Okinoshima Island, Tateyama City, Chiba Prefecture. Please, Mr. Takeuchi, take the floor.
皆さんこんにちは。
Good afternoon. Good morning.
I'm from Tateyama City, Chiba Prefecture. I don't speak English, unfortunately. I'm talking in Japanese. すいません、ここから日本語最初だけ。
At the beginning, I have a pleasure of speaking to you in English. So when it comes to the activities in Okinoshima Island, in the Minami-Boso Tate no Tateyama City, there is I'd like to talk about the restoration activities of eelgrass wetland and forest in Tateyama. I was born in Tokyo in 1964. I was born. I'm quite fond of fishing and the ocean. I was a founder of Tokyo Bay, and I am a member of Mibeno Kanten Dam. In 2004, it was established. So it's for the restoration of the ocean environment around the conservation and restoration. These are the main activities. Our mission is that to get to know the nature and convey and protect the nature of the ocean so that the values will be increased, so that we would protect the nature and then it would enliven the region. So ecotourism of the sea and local SDGs can be realized. These are the missions that we uphold. In Tateyama City in Chiba, and the Tokyo Bay in the southernmost end in here, and also we have Tateyama City, Minami-Boso-si, Kamagashi, Kinanmachi. We have 3 cities around one city. So we're surrounded on 3 sides by the sea. We are influenced by the warm local Kuroshio current. Last year, as was discussed earlier, Amamo Summit was held. The Eelgrass Summit was held last year. Thank you for your cooperation and support. A lot of people have supported me and supported us, and we had a visit to the summit. In Minami-Boso, Tateyama, what is the natural environment? I'd like to shed a light into this. So that's the natural environment, so the seaside, under sea, and the forest around the land around the natural environment in Okinoshima. These are the genders. When it comes to Okinoshima is here. On the Tateyama Bay, it is situated in the southern part of Tateyama Bay. It's land connected to uninhabited land. Everybody can go there with 1 kilometer in perimeter. And also we have some remains of early Jomon period, 8,000 years ago. We have war remains, and there are many shells being thrown. And also this is northernmost area of a coral reef, coral. And we have these kumanomi. These are the fish which are influenced by Kuroshio, warm current. So on the seaside, we have plants in abundance. We have a seaside plant in abundance. Throughout the 4 seasons, the various natural environments can be learned. And also in Okinoshima, in case what's important thing is that we have forest. Forest is connected to us in the ocean. So that the relation between the sea and the forest is important. In particular, from Tokyo, it is rather near here, so that warm Kuroshio factories for us. It's a small island with 1 kilometer in perimeter in this region. In this area, Okinoshima is to be passed on and to be protected in the future. It's a treasurable area. This picture shows the Tateyama, the sunset picture that we are proud of. Mount Fuji and the sailboats are shown here. And now, what is happening in Okinoshima as follows, in both coastal line Okinoshima as well. We have Isoyake that the denudation, it was discussed, there is a decline in the eelgrass beds and decline in the forest. Many things that are happening in front of us. When it comes to Isoyake denudation, this is the past picture of a reef. In the background, we see lots of seaweed, but now there's none. And also, this is the past 2010. This is a comparison made between 2010 and 2018. This is the way it is now. Throughout the nation area, that we have a big issues of Isoyake, there is denudation. The reasons are not clear, although they say this and that. But when it comes to eelgrass, as well in 2013, there's a decline of Amamo, the eelgrass. The major trigger was, as a matter of fact, it's decline on and on. The big typhoon has hit us. Because of the climate change, the typhoon gets intensified. And because of the trigger of a typhoon hitting us, then there is the feeding damage. Then there's a decline in the eelgrass. As when it comes to forest, in 2019, there is the big Boso typhoon. Boso Peninsula typhoon, so the whole trees are fallen. You cannot go into there to the big tall trees that have been fallen because of the typhoon. There are reasons. And the soil environments are getting worse. Because of the changes in those soil environments, there's a dryness going on. For us, what we have to do, what we can do is that So we like to restore the natural environment of the seaside. That is restoration of eelgrass beds and the forest. Around 2009, this is the eelgrass bed in 2009. Around the eelgrass bed, many living beings can be caught under this environment in 2009. But now, it's gone. So, this is cycle of regeneration. So we pick up the flower branches, we select the seeds. We make nurseries in November, that is seed bed in November, and then next year in May, we have a transplanted the shoot. But the result-wise, you have successful cases, but it's a pity because of the food damage, feeding damage, they have not been engrafted. So with the university people locally, in cooperation, we have observed the undersea. This is the image for that, the picture in here. In front, you see that some planted eelgrass, you see the fish is coming closer, and it was a shocking scene that it was eating the seaweed. Same token, in the same way. They are eating eelgrass here. So fish is looking at the camera straight away. Then he's go back. This is crocodile fish, the sea bream. Isuzumi and other species. There are the feeding damages. Crocodile, this is sea bream is one thing. Aigo, this fish, is one of the feeders, but at that time there was a crocodile that is sea bream. In 2016 it was ongoing, but did not go well. With a lot of people, we don't give up and we continue. And when it comes to the forest restoration, so from this and that, and then we have gone through this evolution. In 2019, this activity is ongoing, but experts said that this big tree was falling as well, and the experts survey was done with the Chikyumori Takada-san of NPO organization. He has done the survey. The island itself is totally dried. It was land. This is the connection between the sea and forest, as you see here. The sea and forest are connected. So from the underground, they have spring water. This gives a good effect on the environment, on the earth. This is extreme case. With the artifact, it will cause the bad negative effect onto the soil and the ocean. In order to protect the ocean, we are trying to bring about the regeneration of the forest. This is a triggering movement. Now this sacred tree, this is still alive. Now it has grown big. Now everybody are now doing effort for reforestation. So protect the ocean is to protect the forest, and to protect the forest is to protect the ocean. So system is to be made. So this has resulted in expansion of activities by making a system. Like in Okinoshima, environmental conservation funds is now put into place. Regardless of the amount, a lot of people are cooperating with us. And also, now, as I said earlier, Seventh Forest, we have a concluded agreement with them, with the 7-Eleven Foundation. As a Seventh Forest, we are doing activities as well along with them. And lots of high school students have now cooperating with us, have now been cooperating with us. So that, further, Ise-san has mentioned a little earlier, UMI project is also started as well. And then activities are now expanding on and on. So cross-sectional collaboration is pursued for regeneration of the environment. So this is about UMI project. As was mentioned earlier by my colleague, I would skip this over. Many factors in here. In case of Tateyama, we have UMI project. There are 3 efforts being pursued. One is there's the regeneration of eelgrass and the Minato Oasis. Minato Oasis, the regional promotion, and Minato amenity, that is the promotion of fishing activity. These are the 3 pillars of activity that we pursue. And further on, through these activities, our theme, that is blue carbon or green carbon, these are the things that we are aiming to. It's a small town, but the rivers and the fields and the rivers and the forests and the oceans are all connected, interconnected with each other. So toward the mission, we like to pursue our activities on and on. Sorry, I am speaking so fast. But what we can do all together in togetherness, by speaking with each other in this forum, it's a wonderful thing indeed. Let us be continuing. The future can be transformed by all means. Sorry, I have skipped over my time. I have slided over my time. Thank you very much for attention. This completes my presentation. Tateyama Umi no Kanten Dai, represented by Takeuchi-san. Thank you very much.
Been learning about these linkages of underground water and also seabed spring. I see these integrated ecosystems at the coastal areas. He gave us a very useful insight on this subject. それではちょっと時間になってしまいましたので、先ほどのセッションと同じようにお一人ご質問一つだけお受けして、それでお昼休みという感じでやらせていただきたいと思います。どなたかI take just one question.
一つだけ質問を受けたいと思います。If not, I'd like to ask you a question to Takeuchi-san or not, Mr. Kawabata.
Kawabata-san, so your willingness, your willing spirit, how you convey your message, how you inspire the people to do it, give a try to it. It's a difficulty we encounter. So Kondo Sensei, Professor Kondo said that you have to, when people take interest, then it is time that we have to do the survey, he said, if they are willing. So seeing this from Kawabata-san's perspective, today you want to watch TV, or you want to go to the place where your friends are there, but against this background, or the motivation, you are to urge the people to do the things and the ocean protection activity in togetherness. By doing this, in actuality, how is it reflected? Would it be reflected in your business? That would be ideal, but there is not too direct linkage immediately. How are you to be compatible with a return, economic return, as well as the ocean protecting environment? Can you set a light into this by word or two? Thank you for your question. I am to speak in English or not? Japanese as well? Yes. During the FURUKAWA summit the other day, I have discussed this with the fishermen. Our work is to catch fish. So I have net fishing. So we are given the priority to catch fish. In return, it's our responsibility. We said not just getting fish, we have to do the activity to increase the fish. That's our responsibility. This is my mission, sense of responsibility that we are engaged in the fishing, so that if the more fish can be living, inhabited in the ocean, this will be returned as the earth for more fish in the ocean. Thank you. I hope, by all means, 3 years ago, I went to Kagoshima before the COVID-19. I have observed your activity, but I hope we'd like to have another round to visit you in Kagoshima. Please give a big round of applause to the speakers. Thank you very much.